Despite the fact that Russia's debts are relatively minor and its financial system is less linked with the rest of the globe than those of other countries, some analysts warn that a Russian debt default could have unintended effects. Hence, one may ask, such as what happens if Russia can't pay its debts after Western sanctions? What's at stake? And finally, what's Putin's next play? Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be answering all the questions. Before we get into the video, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that the post notifications are turned on so that you never miss a video from us. Without further ado, let's dive in. Russia's economy is in shambles. Its currency is depreciated and its debt is worthless. Then there's the possibility of a default, which could cost investors billions of dollars and keep the government out of major funding markets. Warning lights are flashing as the government begins the process of paying $117 million in interest on dollar notes. A critical milestone for debt holders whose investments have already plummeted in value since Russia invaded Ukraine last month. The administration claims that all debt will be paid off. However, it'll be in rubles as long as the war's sanctions prevent dollar settlements. Inability to pay, or payment in the local currency rather than dollars, would set in motion a potential wave of defaults on approximately $150 billion in foreign currency debt, owing by both the government and Russian firms such as Gazprom, Lukoil, and Sberbank. Many of the world's largest money managers, including BlackRock Inc. and Pacific Investment Management Company, are showing signs of independent financial harm. However, it's unlikely to be limited to these massive riches. Because much of Russia's debt was recently upgraded to an investment grade, the securities were widely held in global fixed income portfolios and benchmarks, posing a risk to pension funds, endowments, and foundations. What happens in the event of a default? When a borrower fails to make agreed-upon payments on their loans, it's called a default. The Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, which keep track of worldwide sovereign defaults, anticipate that the entire value of government debt in default around the world in 2020 will be around $443.2 billion, or 0.5% of global public debt. Argentina, Belize, Ecuador, and Suriname are among the most recent governments to default, with countries often failing to keep up with payments denominated in foreign currencies. The United States and the United Kingdom, for example, have a proven track record. Both have defaulted in the past, including the United Kingdom in 1672 under Charles II's reign, and the United States in 1862 during the American Civil War. On March 16th, Russia must make 2 coupon payments or regular interest payments. It will, however, have a 30-day grace period, which means that default will not technically occur until at least April. In reaction to Western sanctions imposed after the 2014 annexation of Crimea, Russia has strengthened its financial position in recent years, with the government maintaining budget surpluses and reducing its reliance on the US dollar. According to the Institute of International Finance, IIF, Russia's external obligations, or money owing to creditors by the government, businesses, and individuals, has decreased from $733 billion in 2014 to $480 billion in 2015. One-year payments of $135 billion are due to creditors. The amount owed by the government, on the other hand, is quite minimal. The state's foreign currency bonds, which are denominated in dollars and euros, amount to around $40 billion, a pittance when compared to the size of its economy and that of numerous comparable countries. A total of $28 billion in ruble-denominated Russian debt is held by foreign investors. However, with just under $100 billion in outstanding overseas obligations, the situation is much larger for Russian corporations. Hedge funds, which tend to take on risky bets, and significant global asset managers are among the investors in Russian debt. The U.S. fund manager PIMCO, one of the world's largest bond market investors, has acquired a $1.5 billion stake in Russian national debt, according to the Financial Times. Russia had defaulted in the past, particularly during the 1917 revolution and in 1998, when the country's economy remained weak after the Soviet Union collapsed, and the costs of the Chechen War meant it couldn't keep up with debt payments. Russia, on the other hand, continued to make dollar payments even then. The so-called ruble crisis wreaked havoc on neighboring countries and sent shockwaves through the global financial system, including massive losses for long-term capital management, a hedge fund based in the United States. Why is it possible that Russia will default? Financial transactions are being disrupted as a result of Western sanctions against Russia's central bank and the country's largest lenders. In response, Moscow has imposed capital controls, including halting the transfer of sovereign debt coupon payments to foreign investors. Russia's finance minister has stated that all national debts will be serviced and paid in full and on time. Putin, on the other hand, has stated that Russian firms can pay their foreign currency obligations in rubles at the Russian central bank's predetermined exchange rates to inhabitants of countries that engage in unfriendly operations. In 2021, Russia spent $62 billion on its military, and the invasion of Ukraine could push that sum even higher. According to one estimate, the first 5 days of the battle may have cost Russia as much as $7 billion in direct military costs, according to the Ukrainian-based Center for Economic Recovery, a think tank close to Ukraine's government. Still, because the majority of Russia's military equipment is made in the country with domestic raw materials, Putin may be able to offset the expenditures with inflated rubles. Russia may suffer significant economic consequences as a result of the sanctions, but it'll not run out of cash quickly enough to help Ukraine, according to Kenneth Rogoff, a Harvard University economics professor and former International Monetary Fund and Federal Reserve official. While Russia would have had adequate foreign currency reserves to fulfill debt payments, the US, UK, and EU freezing its central bank's assets has rendered much of this sum inaccessible. Fitch downgraded Russia's sovereign debt to its second lowest level earlier this week, predicting an imminent default. What might the ramifications be for Russia? Due to the reputational damage caused by debt defaults, borrowing becomes more difficult and costlier in the future. However, with the invasion of Ukraine, Russia has already become isolated on the international scene. Western countries have also made it difficult for Russia to raise additional funds in capital markets, such as London and New York, while there may be unintended consequences for the global banking system. Many economists, including Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey, have claimed that Russia's financial ties to the rest of the world are minor and of no systemic relevance. Foreign participation in the Russian sovereign debt market is currently at 20% of total outstanding debt, with political uncertainty inhibiting foreign purchases since 2014. According to Reuters, the World Bank's Reinhardt said that while the consequences have been minimal thus far, concerns could still surface. Putin's next play. It's feasible that Russia may have to further discount these energy exports, selling well below market rates to find clients. Because of the limited amount of oil and gas that Russia can stockpile, it may have to start cutting down production if it can't find methods to export what it's generating. This will further complicate Russia's calculus. However, with the benchmark price of oil surging above $120 a barrel as a result of the invasion, the highest it's been since 2014, Russia may still make more than it did before, even after accepting a significant reduction. As a result, Russia is expected to be able to carry out the war without depleting all of its hard cash. However, this does not negate the fact that economic suffering will be severe, particularly for ordinary Russians. The greatest danger is that the economic pain forces Putin to lash out with more destructive direct reprisal against the United States and Europe. When people consider the various things we can do to Russia, they fail to grasp that this is not the same as attacking Iraq. This is a nuclear-armed nation with cyber and biological warfare capabilities. As a result, the US, EU, and their allies will refrain from acting in a way that would force Russia into insolvency or extreme hyperinflation. With this, we've come to an end. What do you think about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? Do let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe for more content just like this one and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and also press the bell icon to get notified about our new videos. Until then, fellas,